Okay, let's bring it back in. So quick announcement too, for those of you that are on the PSCS committee, the meeting is here at 1 o'clock. It is in person. It has not been canceled yet. Hopefully will be a fairly short meeting, and we will still continue with our presentations after that. But to eliminate any confusion, please be here about 1 o'clock to start that meeting. With that being said, we're going to roll right into our next presentation. In the world of asset management, we all have to hear about asset management. We have to move into this. You have to start worrying about life cycles of your equipment. So to talk to us today is Tim Brandt. He's been with Motorola for more than 25 years, and he's going to talk to us about life cycles, particularly around our consoles, which are all coming to end of life.
Thank you. I don't think my mic. There it is. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name's Tim Brandt. I'm a lifecycle consultant focused on Motorola customers in the western half of the U.S. So I've met some of you in the past, and I'd like to continue to keep interaction with you going. If you have questions during my presentation, please interrupt. I think we have ample time for questions and discussion. If that so tickles you to do that, please just raise your hand. It's kind of a wide area here, so I got to keep scanning the audience to make sure I'm covering everybody. So I'm going to talk about life cycle information regarding the Astro 25 network technology, specifically Astro Next consoles, RF site equipment, both simulcast as well as Astro 25 repeater sites. I want to keep this feature and benefit and planning centric, not trying to do a sales pitch here. If you do have deeper dive questions, we can take that offline, and I can get you whatever information you need to have your questions answered. So first thing I'm going to talk about is Astro Next. Astro Next is Motorola's next generation of our P25 platform. Astro trunking and conventional has been around probably since 1999, so we're 25 years into this technology. And a couple of years back, Motorola management decided to make a massive investment in R&D to do a modernization effort across all the different subsystems, network management, consoles, RF sites, and some of the other interfaces that we have. So we've made a big investment. We continue to make that investment. And over time, next few years, you'll see some of these things come to fruition. So for folks that install and manage RF site equipment, it's an entire new platform. Consoles, new console look and feel. And then when we look at the network management suite, for those of you that manage the network itself, there'll be an entirely new look and feel there, as well as all modernized interfaces and software. So it's a big investment. The takeaway is that we're keeping up with the technology that's appropriate for public safety communications, and we continue to invest in this platform because our customers have asked us to, and ultimately it'll result in another 15 to 20 plus years of sustainability for the technology. So one of the things I want to talk about is platform migration as defined by Motorola. Platform migration is really reworking an entire product family or a subsystem of products, modernizing it, and typically we do that on an average about every 15 to 20 years. The reasons behind that include mostly just component obsolescence, software obsolescence specifically, hardware subcomponents. Typically, customers want new feature sets. They want to continue to improve the performance. There's a lot of things that we do to ensure that the technology is viable for many years into the future. In the last few years, probably the last 10 years, we've gotten hammered with cybersecurity requirements. So in our next generation of technology, you'll see a lot of new improvements on the cybersecurity side. So what drives that typically are the bad guys are figuring out ways to defeat or compromise the technology that was designed literally 25 years ago. So we have to figure out ways to circumvent that and hopefully prevent any issues. Another thing that drives our platform migrations is software development. Most of the network, you can't run anything on the network without software, and software has a relatively short life compared to the hardware that we make. Typically, software life cycles go anywhere from 3 to 4 years, and then you're buying the next generation of software and using that. And that includes our development environment. So the technologies that we use to develop the G series and the MCC 7500 are long overdue for a refresh. So I'm talking about coding tools, the licensing needed to make this technology work. And the last thing that drives platform migrations is when we do a last time buy on the components needed to manufacture the equipment, we're making commitments to our customers for long-term support beyond what we would consider end of sale or end of support. So you're looking at component repair parts, spares, the ability to expand when you need to. So all these things, and there's a lot more. People ask, why are you doing the platform change out? You know, Motorola just wants to sell new stuff. Of course we want to sell new stuff, but a lot of it is driven by the nature of the technology and the life cycle. Examples of a platform migration, in case it's not clear. Centricom, for those of you who've been around for a long time, that had a life of about 34 years before we ended it. MCC 7500, by the time it's fully retired, and I'll get into the dates here in a second, that's 25 plus years. So when we're talking about a platform life, you know, it's 20, 30 plus years. We're not talking about 2 or 3 or 5 years. It's a very long time. These become programs unto themselves. So from a development and supportability perspective, we continue to make investments and make sure that the technology is viable. Quantar is a good example from a base radio standpoint. We moved into the G series back in the early 2000s. So by the time that's fully retired, it'll have a life of over 28 years. And as we move our customers to the next generation of technology, command central access for dispatch and the D series equipment for the RF sites. So when you look at Astro Next, Astro Next is really our next generation of these technologies. So I'm going to talk about G series IP simulcast prime sites, moving them to virtual prime, MCC 7500 family of products to the AXS dispatch console, and then the G series RF sites and base stations to what we now call the D series technology. So all of these technologies are currently shipping. Consoles and 700-800 megahertz D series technologies are all available today. We're working on conventional, and there's some other technologies coming, different frequency bands, but I believe most everybody here is on 700-800 megahertz. So let's talk a little bit quickly about AXS dispatch console. It's really our next generation technology. It's been shipping for a couple of years. So if you look at the history of dispatch console operator positions, Motorola has been doing this for over 80 years. We've evolved. Most notably, when you look at the Centricom Gold Elite, when we came out with the MCC 7500, it was really a next generation technology. I think we started working on that back in 1999. We basically took what went from buttons and LEDs to a graphical user interface, which, you know, by standards back in the 1990s, that was pretty cool stuff. When we moved to the MCC 7500, we basically ported the look and feel of buttons and LEDs to this new GUI, graphical user interface, on the Gold Elite. We ported that to the MCC 7500 because that's what a lot of our customers wanted. They didn't want to disrupt the workflow. They didn't want anything new and different. They just wanted it to work well and be less invasive to our customers. So when we moved to Command Central Access, it is a new look and feel. It is a new graphical user interface. We've spent a lot of R&D trying to develop an intuitive user interface for today. So it's modernized to look like something that's been, you know, developed recently, not back in the 1980s. It has a lot of flexibility in terms of end user operation. For the folks that have to upgrade these or deal with upgrades, we're moving to an architecture where we're going to have something called an Astro Upgrade Server I don't have time to get into that today, but effectively it's an on-prem device where we're going to push out software patches and upgrades to this AXS console. We also have a new architecture from a hardware perspective. It's all modern. There's something called the CC Hub, Command Central Hub. That's a Motorola manufactured device that replaces, for those of you who remember the CIE, it replaces that. It replaces the VPM, for those of you who are familiar with that. And it allows us to do more frequent updates, less invasively, and hopefully keep the customer end user operating without much interruption. So hopefully it'll make, for those of you that deal with this, make your life easier. In the future, it'll allow us to do other technologies if the market desires. Some things we're looking at is SIP-based telephony and integrating with other Motorola technologies, Command Central software technologies that we've been shipping and developing over the last few years. So there's a lot to unpack here. For those of you who haven't seen this, please reach out to your Motorola rep and we can get you a demo, hands-on, live demo of this technology. So we also want to talk about, when you start to plan for the future, this is something that's going to require end-user training. We want to make sure it's a smooth rollout if and when you decide to go to this technology. So as we move forward, we'll have more discussions for those that want that detail. If there are any questions right now, I'm going to pause. Anybody have any questions on this technology? Okay, moving on. Last thing to talk about, for those of you that do secure encrypted activities, the CC Hub, which is this box you see, there's a little white spot there. It says internal hardware encryption. We just started shipping FIPS 140 level 3 encrypted devices within that operator position Command Central Hub. So that'll give you the ability to do the highest levels of encryption that are offered for, I would call it, public safety radio communication. So this meets all the federal requirements, pretty much driven by the federal market, but it's available to everybody who's interested in it. Covers AES and some of the other algorithms, and it'll be able to do KVL or over the OTEC, over the Ethernet rekeying. So this is our last major feature set with respect to encryption that's now available. So the important thing here are the dates on supportability. If you look at the top where it says AXS, that is our roadmap for feature sets. You'll notice that we're now in 2025, almost mid-2025. We are now shipping hardware encryption, as I mentioned. If you look to the right, telephony and what we call ORNI, outside the radio network interface. That'll be available next year for those that need that. So that's analogous. The ORNI is analogous to the MCC 7100 capability. So we'll have that available next year. I'm not sure how many folks use that, but that's something that a lot of customers are interested in. Most important note is that the MCC 7500 family of products, whether it's a VPM-based console position or the E flavor, the end of support is December 31st of 2030. So that's about almost 5 years from now. We have extended those dates multiple times, and based on feedback, we pushed the dates out a bit, but by that point in time, the projection is we'll be unable to support repair, parts expansion, and so forth. So that's a key date to keep in mind, December 31st of 2030, and that's for all the flavors of the MCC 7500. The other thing that goes along with that is the GCP 8000 conventional site controller. The GCP 8000, we stopped selling that back in 2023. It's still supported through the duration of the console subsystem Lifecycle. There is a replacement device for that today. If you were to buy a new console or a new console site, there is a substitute product that we're shipping, have been shipping for a couple of years, and that's available. And you may have had exposure to that already, but I wanted to bring that up. So that's it on consoles. Any questions, comments, concerns? All right. Next thing I'd like to talk about is the virtualized prime site. That name, virtualized prime site, does not mean it's in the cloud or it's outside of your premises. It's actually on site. What Motorola has done over the last probably 15 years, as the technology has become available, we have virtualized IT terminology, taking what was once hardware, we've converted it into software, and we're running it as an application. So for those of you who've been around a long time, there was a time when a typical master site had like 17 servers. And over time, we've been able to virtualize those 17 servers, as an example, into 2 servers. That's all possible because of software and the stability of the technology. So we continue to do that where it's appropriate, and most recently we've done that with the IP simulcast prime site. So our virtualized prime site really is removing comparators and the site controllers, turning those into actual software applications, and then running them on a Linux industrial grade pair of servers. So we've taken what was once hardware, spent all the R&D to turn that into software, and now run it on a server pack. So if you move to a virtualized prime site, you'll notice that it's a significantly smaller rack of equipment. Literally, it's like a half rack of equipment, switches, routers, site controllers, some interface equipment. And the takeaway here is it's more redundant, it's all software based, and it resides on-prem. So it would replace your current IP simulcast prime site. So for example, in terms of, this is what we would call the D series prime site. In terms of some of the advantages of it, it's much, much smaller, as pointed out, and it really is less power consuming compared to the current G series IP simulcast prime site. Significant difference in power consumption compared to the current fielded technology. So that's a big reduction. Lot more software, less hardware, and there's other pros and cons. I don't want to get into all those today, but generally speaking, it's a better solution. It's more redundant and more resilient. And then when we get into the actual rack of equipment, you'll notice there's interface panels, just like you have today. There's multi-couplers and pre-selectors. What's different is number 3. We have a multi-carrier power amplifier bank. This allows us to provide power across all the carriers at the same level. It's redundant, it's much more survivable, and this is technology that's been in the cellular industry for a while, as I understand it. We've adopted it and put it into the prime site as the next generation technology. You also notice there's a DSC, number 5, DSC 8500 is the nomenclature, site processor with integrated time and frequency reference. So unlike past simulcast iterations that we've had with both P25 and 3600 trunking, we've moved into basically it's a set of industrial grade Linux servers that have built-in frequency reference if you want it. So there's no more need for a track. You have an option to continue to use the track, but this is all built in, all Motorola manufactured with similar, better specs than what the tracks provide. What else on here? So literally, depending on the configuration, for simulcast, you can do up to 30 channels per simulcast trunking site, just like you can do today. It's just the next generation of technology, smaller footprint, and much less energy consuming. Any questions on that? I'm moving this pretty quickly, but I want to make sure I don't miss any questions. Yes, sir? Okay, so the ask is AC power supplies. I believe that's coming now. I believe that is still on the roadmap. So hopefully that, with battery revert, I got to check on that. I don't remember if that's on there or not, but we'll get back to you on that. So from a Lifecycle roadmap perspective, this D-Series virtual prime site technology has been shipping since 2023. Note that the simulcast prime site that's available today, last release or end of support for that is at the end of 2029, so that's December 31st of 2029. So that means the prime site as you know it today, the site controllers, the GCP 8000 site controllers, the comparators, all of those go end of support at the end of 2029. So it's still a few years out, but that's something that probably is the first thing, if you have those, that need to be addressed in the overall architecture of your subsystems out there. On this slide, you'll also notice on the D series, we have something called the DSC 8500 trunking site controller. That is the currently shipping replacement for the GCP 8000. That's available today. That is what you would get if you were to order a new site today. We would ship that site controller with D series base radios. So 700 or 800 megahertz trunking sites would get this site controller with the new D series radios. The GCP 8000 trunking site controller that you have at prime sites as well as ASTRO 25 repeater sites, those go through the end of 2033. I know there's a lot of those out there, so those will have to be addressed. And then if you have, I'm not sure you do, there may be some out there, the DSC 8000 was kind of an interim. When we stopped making the GCP 8000, we came out with something called DSC 8000, which was its replacement. And so we've been shipping that for a few years with both ASTRO 25 repeater sites in all the frequency bands. So that device, the DSC 8000, goes through end of 2034 if you have those. So really the next generation trunking site controller is the DSC 8500, and that is shipping today. So that's out there. It's in operation. Okay, so that was simulcast. I'm going to get into the ASTRO 25 repeater site. Much like the previous slides you've seen, it's a smaller footprint, 12 carriers per rack. There's a couple of things that are different about it relative to the G series that you have today. It's smaller, it uses less energy. We have 50 kilohertz transmit spacing, so I don't know if that applies here, but it helps make frequency planning more flexible. We also have the ability now to remotely change frequencies through software rather than coming on site and doing that. So no technician needed to go out to the site any longer. It's done through a software application remotely. So no on-site activity needed. Far as upgrades go, we're going to do the whole site at a time, so we're not doing it box by box. That means hopefully zero downtime, and you have more resiliency and less opportunity to have problems. So relatively speaking, you're looking at probably a 20+ year advancement in the technology that's available or that you have today. So that's some of the benefits. The rack layout is similar to what I showed earlier, but this has interface panels as well as the site processors, which are the redundant Linux servers. Still has site routers. It still has switches, activities that do IP packet switching. AC supplies are integrated or are available. It's integrated with DC. So the AC is there. The battery revert, I got to check on that. But necessarily the technology is more compact and more efficient is what you would expect, with a 20-year advancement. The interfaces, from a P25 standpoint, we're still in the common air interface. It still talks to the zone controller, the packet data gateway, the audio routing. It's all the same as it always has been with the G series. What is different As you get into the network management apps, there'll be different applications with similar look and feel, but different. So for those of you who have to manage these devices, obviously there's going to be some learning on the new interfaces that you'll see over the next few years as you take upgrades. There will be something different as far as upgrading software. We're getting rid of SWIDL, Software Download Manager. There will be something I mentioned earlier that we're first rolling out for the Astro 25 dispatch consoles, the AXS consoles. It's something called a Astro Upgrade Server. The current plan is to take that device and use it like inside the radio network to do what are effectively remote software pushes out to these devices. So that'll be different. There'll be more to come on that from a training perspective as we start doing the training, the WLS type training, or if you have, if you have interest in learning more about that, once that information is available, we can make that available so you can study up on it and ask questions. Last thing, migration planning. So some of the discussions that I've been involved with from a migration planning standpoint, it's kind of hard to see on that slide, but so the question is, can I mix different flavors of base radios with the current technology you have and the old? Can I mix them? The answer is really, you can mix them in the system level or the simulcast subsystem level. So in other words, if you have a simulcast cell, you could mix one site, could be DBRs, the new D-series RF site equipment, and the rest of the sites could be G-series. So at the site level, it has to be one flavor or the other. You cannot mix D and G in the same site. From a migration planning standpoint or expansion planning standpoint, that's relevant because before the end of this year, we're going to stop selling 700 and 800 megahertz G-series base radios and site equipment. So if you're looking at expanding a site, the question is, well, how do I do that? The answer is, well, we would provide you with the new D-series, and you could cannibalize or repurpose your G-series site equipment to other sites. That's one solution. But if you have those kind of needs and questions, please reach out to your Motorola rep, and we can get you the answers to help you, move through that discussion. So really, it's at the site level and at the system level, the mixing and matching has to be controlled. So site level has to be all D or all G. Simulcast subsystem, each site has to be all D or all G. And then at the system level, you can have half your sites be G series and half be D. The system doesn't care. So I'm going to pause there. Any questions, comments? Makes sense? Oh, yes, sir. Yes, so the question is, do I have any information on the D-series standalone repeater? It's coming. I just saw something the other day that it's not ready for prime time, but yes, it's coming. I think it's going to be 3 rack units high, and it'll be standalone just like the G-series is today. So that's, as soon as that information is ready for prime time, if you want somebody to take your name, or I can talk to you later, we'll get you the information. Yep, we're working on it. Not out yet, no. And I don't have time to go through all of them, but there's different power levels that these repeaters can do. So this stuff is evolving like literally every week, but there'll be different power outputs, and I don't know how much of that applies for each of your individual systems, but if you want to have more discussion about all of that, we can have a separate have somebody come in and have that detailed discussion if that's helpful. Any other questions? So roadmap-wise, the takeaway is today we are now shipping the new site controller, whether it's for a prime site or for an Astro 25 repeater site, as well as the respective 700 and 800 megahertz base radios. So just to reiterate, the GCP 8000 site controller that you have at most of your Astro 25 repeater sites, That site controller, we stopped shipping back in 2023. It'll still be supported through the end of 2033. But the thing to take away here is the last line is the GTR 8000, 700 and 800 megahertz flavor. Our intent is to quit selling those at the end of this year. They'll still be supported for another, roughly 7 years. But if you have plans for expansion and you have questions, let us know so we can answer those questions. But the intent is to quit selling those at the end of this year. Yes, sir. Yeah, so good question. So the question is basically how long will you have parts support for the G series, 7800? As of right now, our projection is the end of 2032. I'm sure as the parts are depleted, we will start announcing that and having discussions with folks that need to know that or want to know more about it. But our plan is to have supportability through the end of 2032. You're welcome. Any other questions? Last piece of the puzzle. Oh, sorry, got one. Yes, those will be available. It's going to depend on which one it is. Those will be available for some time yet. But if you have, so one of the things as we start getting into sunsetting the product, one of my challenges is when I go talk to customers is what are you trying to do from now until the end of the supportability? Last time buys for you. There's a finite parts supply. So if you have a need or desire to get, FRUs or whatever, reach out to your Motorola representative so that we can make sure you have ample time to get that taken care of if that's a concern. You're welcome. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is conventional. We have a conventional D-series roadmap. If you notice, 700 and 800 megahertz right now is projected to fall into first half of 2027 when we plan to ship those. Likewise, if you're running anything conventional, 700, 800, the comparator goes into supportability in 2028, and the G series conventional 700, 800 megahertz goes to the end of 2032. So still got ample time to figure that out. Draw attention to if you have the need to purchase the G series, we're looking at stop selling those in early 2028, first half of 2028. That's the current projection. It's still a ways out, but for those of you that have to, look at procuring those, those are the current dates. Any questions on conventional? So I finished early. Any other questions about Lifecycle that I didn't cover that you want to ask? I'm here for questions. Beat me up. Yes, slides will be available for folks that have NDAs in place, and I'm sure everybody does. So if not, let us know, and we'll figure out how to get you the information. Yes? Is the, sorry, say again. The patching cycle? Oh, so right now, that's, so the virtualized, you're talking virtualized prime site specifically? So currently the patching, I know is going to be at least twice a year. There's a lot of pressure to get that more frequently. Depends on which customer you talk to. Like when I deal with federal customers, they want patching monthly. So last time I checked, this is going to be a moving topic until they finally lock it in, but the current view is twice a year minimally. And I expect that as time goes on, it'll be more frequently because the relevance is that the two server site controller comparator applications that run on those Linux boxes. It's a Linux machine with, all the software that Linux and virtual machine technology uses will have to be patched just like any other IT component. So my expectation is minimally 2 times a year, possibly more frequently depending on, what happens with those software apps and OSs that we use. Does that answer your question? Okay. Any other? Yes? So the question is, do we know if conventional channels can be co-located? I believe the answer to that is yes. I haven't seen actual details yet, but as all this stuff comes out, my hope is we're going to have more frequent meetings to have these discussions about, here's the latest, because this literally stuff's rolling out weekly, monthly. So I believe the answer to that is yes, but I'll have to confirm that. Any more questions? Okay, well, thank you for your time. Thanks for having me. Hopefully, we'll have more discussions.
Okay, with that, we're going to